Well, folks, my fun project for today is removing these 4 bolts and replacing this worn out, beat to death caster. I'm going to replace all of them. This bench has been together for about 50, 60 years. It's rusted solid. Them bolts ain't going to cooperate at all. So I'm going to drill them out the tricky guy way from the wrong side, because it's just easier to get to here. So I'm going to go through a step procedure to drill out these 4 bolts easy. Step 1, I'm going to clean this up. I got to chip all this stuff out of there. This one in the corner is going to be the biggest pain in the butt. Well, it's not spotless, but it'll do. Just scraped it out good enough to get wrenches on it. Now I'm going to try, although I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. I already... I'm going to need to be able to turn the bolts around as I drill. A bit tricky with one hand. Okay, now comes the real trick here. I'm going to start with a little drill, make a pilot hole. It's a little tricky, I'm doing this one-handed. Now see how it wandered, how the drill ran off the edge there? I'm not too worried about drilling this. And I'll rotate the bolts so that I can get to an angle that I can keep drilling through at. I'm aiming for the bolt where it goes through the material. See, that's not even close to on center, but it doesn't matter. Now I got my bigger drill in there. And I don't care that the angle is wrong and it's off-centered. And there you go. Yeah, I know. That's all kind of wrong. See, I aimed through the nut. It's hard to see. I aimed through the nut to the middle where the bolt goes through the hole in the middle. It's not the proper way, but when you're dealing with 1/4-20 bolts through sheet metal, like for casters, if the bolts are cheap ones, it's a pretty straightforward deal. Okay, so I started on this one, and the first thing it did was walked off to the side. So now the flat is in the wrong place for me to drill it. So I'm going to spin the bolt around. Until I can get an angle that I can hit with the drill. Keep in mind, what I'm trying to set up is I'm trying to aim through the center of the bolt, where on the bottom side where it goes through the sheet metal. Thing turned right there at the end. Now for this part, I don't want the bolt to spin around, so I'm going to leave the wrench there, switch the drill. Come in at that weird angle that puts the drill through the other side of the bolt. Right on through, like a bad man. Yep, all four came out pretty much the exact same way. I couldn't do the other videoing with one hand, so I think you saw enough already. Anyway, the secret is you're aiming for the bottom of the bolt. Right? This one's pretty straight on, both sides. It started off a little bit off on one side. This one started off way on the one side, but it came through pretty much near the center of the nut on the other side. Same deal here. I started off way on the side. I aimed and came out pretty much across the center of the other side of the nut. Right? Because there's no way I'm going to get in here with this wall here to get a straight shot at that. And it didn't really feel like burning it out with a torch. or tearing the whole thing apart, turning it upside down. There's a ton of crap in this cart. That worked pretty good. Anyway, thanks for watching. Okay, so there was 4 casters. I sucked the other pieces up in the vacuum when I was cleaning up. Out of all the bolts, there were 16 of them. Every single one of them was going to be a big pain in the butt. So I just drilled them all out. All of them. Not one of them turned. Anyway, this one right here is a perfect example. If you look close, you can see I didn't start that hole in the middle. I started that hole wherever I could get to it, because I can't even get straight onto the end of that bolt. So I started on the side of it and came in at an angle like that and ended up coming out the other side pretty dang near the middle, which is pretty much the case with all of these bolts. I didn't really get to start any of them dead center like I'd like to. All of them are pretty much, that's off center to start. And that one came through pretty much dead nuts through the center on the way out the other side. So I just needed to pass through the bottom of the nut at the right spot. Didn't matter where I started. Now this is a trick that you're only going to get to work if you're dealing with a nut and a bolt that are pretty close on the hardness. If you have a really hard bolt and a soft nut, it's not going to want to do this for you. If you have a hard nut and a soft bolt, it'd probably work pretty good. But you're going to have a problem if the metals are dissimilar, in that they won't cut equally. But if you've got like exactly the same grade, the drill won't really mind going through the threads and everything. It's tricky to get it started, but once you're there, it's just another trick you can add to your bag of tricks. That bolt right there, that one, yeah, that bad boy was way off. I missed that bolt completely on this side, but I went through that side pretty darn near the center. Not perfect, but enough to get the bolt to come right off. Anyway, hope this trick helps you out, because sometimes you can't always get to the other side of the bolt, or you won't be able to remove it, and your only option is to just drill through. If you look, none of those bolts started off in the center, but just about every single one of these finished off where I drilled through. I was right about the middle of that bad boy on most all those. That's the spot I was aiming for. I drilled through to land at that spot. All right, just keep this in the back of your mind. It's not it's not the cleanest, most neatest trick, but boy howdy, if there's nothing else to do, you can do it that way.